Hello, and thank you for joining us today in our study of the book of Psalms. Today we come to Psalm 93. Now, in this psalm, we once again don't have any direct information as to who the writer is or when it was written. And it is a very short psalm. It is only 5 verses in length. And it is simply a poetic song dealing with the glory and the majesty of God. And so, as we're going to go through and read this, it's not a very long read, and our discussions of it aren't going to be over lengthy and intricate either. I just want us to see and to focus on, for the next few moments, the glory and the majesty of God. And we'll pull some things out of what we read in just a moment. But first, let's examine the psalm itself. Beginning in verse 1, we read, "The Lord reigns. He is clothed with majesty. The Lord is clothed. He has girded himself with strength. Surely the world is established so that it cannot be moved. Your throne is established from of old. You are from everlasting. The floods have lifted up, O Lord. The floods have lifted up their voice. The floods lift up their waves. The Lord on high is mightier than the noise of many waters, than the mighty waves of the sea. Your testimonies are very sure. Holiness adorns your house, O Lord, forever." Again, very short psalm. And yet I want you to look at some of the statements that are being made in the course of this psalm. As you begin, the emphasis is on the reigning and the majesty of God. The fact that He is the one who is ultimately in control. And there's going to be a couple of sentiments that are going to be used to establish that fact. The first one is the statement at the end of verse 1 and the start of verse 2. He says, "Surely the world is established so that it cannot be moved. Your throne is established from of old. You are from everlasting." The idea of being established here means to be set up, to be put in place. I want you to notice the emphasis that the psalmist makes here about the world being put in place so that it cannot be moved. And it is God who is the one who is given the credit for putting it in place, for establishing it. You know, we live in a world that has taken God out of the equation for its existence. And in doing so, what they have done is they have put the onus simply upon what is here and what is present for the earth's sustainability and for the sustainability of all around us. Except the psalmist here doesn't do that, and God doesn't do that. God says, "I made everything." The psalmist here says that the world is established so that it cannot be moved. Nobody else has the ability or has the power to move what God has put in place. And Jesus would even make the statement that these things are not going to go away until He returns. So there are many people that are worried about this world going away, this world being destroyed, this world coming to an end based on the things that man does and based on the things that man chooses to do. God here emphasizes the fact He's the one who made it, He's the one who's in control of it, and it is established in such a way that it cannot be moved without His allowance and His action upon it. Therefore, it doesn't mean that it gives us the right to mistreat the world that God has given us, or that we shouldn't care about how we handle the things that God has entrusted to our care. But what it does mean is we don't have to live in this constant state of fear and panic about what is to come when it comes to the world that we live in. Because God is in control, and He is watching over that aspect of things. The other thing I want us to notice is the emphasis in verses 3 and 4 when it comes to water. And when you look at the greatest aspects and the greatest evidences of might and power that God puts continuously before us, water is among the first things that we think of when you think of the oceans, when you think of the rivers, when you think of what a flood does and the power that it exerts over an area, and so on and so forth. It's interesting that the word here that is translated floods is actually the word in Hebrew that means rivers. And you look at the idea that the rivers have lifted up their voice, and the rivers lift up their waves, and yet in everything that you see in the waters of the earth, the Lord is mightier. The Lord on high is mightier than the noise of many waters, than the mighty waves of the sea. When it comes to the things that show power in nature, water is among the first things that are thought of. Yes, in our day and time, we can think of earthquakes and volcanoes and various things of that nature, but for most of us, it's not because we've ever experienced it. It's because with television and all of those things, we have seen those things, even though we've never been there. But with water, it's before everyone, or nearly everyone. And it's something that is a constant reminder of the power of nature. And yet God is greater than the power of nature because he's the one who put it in place. Your testimonies are very sure. Holiness adorns your house, O Lord, forever. The Lord reigns. He reigns over this earth. He reigns over all of his creation. He reigns over us. These are the things that I see in Psalm 93. I hope that they're helpful to you. Next time, we'll come back and we'll begin looking at Psalm 94. I hope that you'll join us then, and thank you for watching today's video. Until next time, have a great day.